I think one of the big mistakes, whether you want one client, you want 20 clients, you want 30 clients, and we saw this in the martial arts school, is you only have one marketing strategy to try to obtain one client, 20 clients, 30 clients. And in the martial arts industry, we tell them we want you to have 20 different strategies to get one person from each strategy. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. And it was the school owners who did put all of their eggs in one basket during COVID that ultimately ended up shutting down their business because they relied too heavily on word of mouth, or they relied too heavily on referrals, or they relied too heavily on partnerships in education, which are popular in our industry. So I don't think, everybody wants that hack. They want that like, it's not one little thing, guys. It's a lot of little things strung together consistently over time. Over time is the most important part of that sentence that will yield drastic results.
Welcome, everyone, to our podcast here at HighLevel. We call them the Spotlight Session. Today, we're doing something totally different that we haven't done before. JB and I, you might be very familiar with JB. He's one of our hosts, and he teaches our 5-day challenge and a couple of other programs. So I told JB, hey, let's do a duo partnership on a podcast and kind of see how it resonates with our crowd. And we have a very, very special person that has said yes to us to jump on a podcast here, Cris Rodriguez. I've heard about Cris and her story literally in so many places. Josh Nelson's group, in our summit planning. I think you're coming to the summit conference. We've heard about this across the board. So what I want to do is read out a formal intro here that I have. Cris Rodriguez is the visionary and founder of a company called GrowPro Agency, a leading digital marketing agency that made the Inc. 5000 list 2 years in a row now, ranking at 563, which is really hard to do if you're in the world of agency, for its outstanding growth and impact, serving over 470 plus. Actually, that's 72, because while we're just getting on this podcast, she landed 2 clients as we were just chatting. So it's 472 now. Martial arts schools across the U.S. with a 34 in-person team member. I think, are they in Florida or? Okay,
Tampa,
cool. Yeah.
Florida.
Yeah, and you guys are one of the leaders in the world of marketing when it comes to martial arts, and of course, a couple of other industries as well. But you have a prime focus in one. Cris, thanks for saying yes to us, first of all.
Yeah, I don't mind being the guinea pig. Hopefully it goes well.
Absolutely. So, before we go any further, who are you? Like, where did your journey start in entrepreneurship? And for those of you that are watching, my goal is to figure out how Cris, is landing 20 to 30 new customers every single month. And maybe 3 things that I would love to kind of just share, and me and JB will kind of go back and forth on, is prospecting with precision, leadership and team management, and we'll talk about how you've expanded your reach and things like that. But what is your journey? Like, who is Cris Rodriguez?
Yeah. Well, thanks again so much, guys. I'm a lifelong martial artist. I started training in Taekwondo when I was 8 years old, fell in love, knew that that's what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. Um, Started training in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in the late 90s, which is becoming much more popular today. And my dream was to open up a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and MMA academy here in Tampa, Florida. And I did that in 2012. So brick and mortar business, we grew very, very quickly, hit about $500,000 in revenue. And for a martial arts school, most average about $5,000 to $10,000 a month in revenue. So you typically don't open up a martial arts school because you want to be super wealthy. You do it because you have a passion for it. You want to make an impact in your community. But I also wanted to make money. That was going to be how I, could feed my family. And when you become a small business owner, an entrepreneur, hopefully you start collecting skills. And one of those skills that I collected was digital marketing. For martial arts schools, you can go be a PE teacher for a day. You can go flyer cars. And I'm like, it's Florida. It's 100 degrees outside. I don't want to do that. I'd rather stay in my air conditioned office, open my laptop, and launch a Facebook ad or launch a Google ad. And we grew very, very quickly because of that. And I had school owners reaching out because they're seeing how packed our classes are. Like, Cris, how are you doing that? So I started teaching them. And I launched 8-week marketing masterminds, teaching martial arts school owners how to get new students with Facebook and Instagram and Google. And at the end of the 8 weeks, they came back and they were like, Cris, this was so amazing, but I don't want to do that stuff. It's way too hard. The platforms are always changing. Will you just do it for me? And in the beginning, I said no. I have a degree in education, so I absolutely love to teach. And I just kept teaching these 8-week courses. And after a while, my wife was like, what are you thinking? Like, people are begging you to do this. At the time, my martial arts school had grown to the point where I wasn't an owner operator. I was truly an owner. I had a team that, was a well-oiled machine. So I took on 10 clients and started launching Facebook ads and Google ads, and then just realized, man, I just bought myself another job. And if I wanted to, really get serious about this, then I would need to start putting in the work to, develop an actual team. In the beginning, I was just using 1099 contractors. It was completely remote. And I thought I would build this little side hustle to help me with retirement in the future. And very quickly, the side hustle became bigger than the main hustle. And that's really how GrowPro Agency was born.
Now, JB, you see similar stories of people focus on a niche-oriented agency, right? What are some thoughts that you have in what Cris is kind of, explaining here? Like we see a lot of these journeys.
Yeah, I had to tape my keyboard and make it hard to unmute because I would just keep talking. That's how pumped she gets me going here, right? Like when I first met, when I first learned about Cris was at a seven-figure agency 2 Julys ago, I believe it was, and the same energy that she has now, it just really makes you open up your mind of what's possible. And what really intrigued me was the niche part, because like when I was part of this mastermind, it was like my first mastermind, I didn't even know what niche approach was. And she had shared her book, she had shared a bunch of stories to a bunch of people that were already had well-oiled machine businesses. And I was just like a newbie that kind of knew what I was doing, but just needed more guidance. So when I think of a niche business, I'm like, who's doing it? Because no one like makes it like I would never know you have a niche business, Cris. Like GrowPro Agency, it's like the name is not it. There's nothing in the name that says niche, but how you deliver is so powerful. My question for you, Cris, is with what I've seen and people that have shared some of their struggles of like, I'm about to give up on this. When you picked your niche, you had a little bit of an advantage because you enjoyed what you were doing. How does somebody determine what they should do because they enjoy it as a niche versus learn it, deal with it, and then become the student and become great at it?
Yeah, we eventually want to go into other verticals, and we've, discussed what that would look like. And one of the verticals is dance because it's a very similar market as a martial arts school. And I'm just thinking like, do I really want to go to dance conferences? Do I really want to be surrounded by the colors pink and purple and, going from a predominant male industry to a predominant female industry and like starting from the ground up? And those conversations have occurred. Or if we wanted to go into more of home services, which are much more pandemic proof, right? Because we got hit hard during COVID because all of the martial arts schools got shut down. But I don't get geeked out talking about roofing. I don't get geeked out talking about plumbing or HVAC. So we have a very, very short time on this planet. And do I believe you can be successful in something you don't have a passion for? Absolutely. But how much more fun to be successful in something you do have a passion for? So to me, that's a no-brainer.
Yeah,
And Cris, sorry, JB, I think Cris, one of the things that I'm seeing here is, a lot of the coaches, a lot of the consultants, a lot of the experts in this marketing space, they make it look pretty easy. They make it sound kind of easy to build an agency, right? Like I know I was trapped into the idea of a 997 course, do this little mastermind, and all of a sudden I can slap on an LLC. Like what would you say to the person that's at that 9 to 5 right now and they're just trying to make that jump in to the world of entrepreneurship?
Yeah, so I mean, your 9 to 5 pays your bills now. What you do from 5 to 9 is going to pay for your future. So, number one, let's look at what you're doing from 5 to 9. And are there courses out there that can help you? Sure. But anybody that says that it's easy is lying to you. And I think that's one of the reasons why I was so drawn to Josh Nelson and Seven Figure Agency. I would not be where I'm at without the guidance, without that community, without Josh's leadership. And he was actually the one to do the sales call. He doesn't do sales calls anymore, but I joined about 5 years ago, and he's not trying to spew that, hey, this is going to be really easy. No, this is going to be difficult and you're going to have to put in the work. Are you willing to put in the work? And I think it's very frustrating when you see, Facebook ads and Instagram ads of coaches and consultants claiming how easy it is. It's not easy because it deals with people, and people are complex, whether that's your clients, whether that's your prospects, whether that's your team members. People are never a box you just get to check off in your business. So it is going to be hard, but because it's hard, that's what makes the success that much sweeter. So.
Yeah. What I love about this podcast segment that JB and I kind of do, and sometimes Chase will host some of these, is that we get very transparent and real about the real side of this business. Of what I mean by is the business model, whether it's SaaS agency, whether it's agency. Chris, you have a pretty much a full-on agency, and SaaS is just maybe a 5-10% of it, from what I understand. But what we want to do is just make sure we share the truth about this journey. And when I see someone like you that's successful, I want to talk about the tears and the pain and the sweat behind it, because the success is what everyone looks at, and they don't see what it took to get there. So going to our topic for the day, it's the secrets to acquiring 20 to 30 new clients every month. Let's start with one new client every month. That's probably where a lot of people are. Um, Chris, what would you tell yourself, knowing what almost a decade into this entrepreneurial journey in multiple type of businesses, like what would you tell yourself at this point to get your first client?
I mean, I wouldn't have changed the route that I did with the 8 week course and teaching it to people first. But I think one of the big mistakes, whether you want one client, you want 20 clients, you want 30 clients, and we saw this in the martial arts school, is you only have one marketing strategy to try to obtain one client, 20 clients, 30 clients. And in the martial arts industry, we tell them we want you to have 20 different strategies to get one person from each strategy. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. And it was the school owners who did put all of their eggs in one basket during COVID that ultimately ended up shutting down their business, because they relied too heavily on word of mouth, or they relied too heavily on referrals, or they relied too heavily on partnerships in education, which are popular in our industry. So I don't think, everybody wants that hack. They want that like, it's not one little thing, guys. It's a lot of little things strung together consistently over time. Over time is the most important part of that sentence that will yield drastic results. And there have been plenty of times of tears. There have been plenty. I mean, I can remember vividly during COVID, my son was born March 3rd. So like 2 weeks before the whole world shut down. And I was navigating COVID for 3 different businesses. I felt like I had to step up as a leader in my industry, because people just, martial arts school owners, we call a lot of them vintage school owners. Like, they can't even find the share button on a Zoom, on a Zoom. So I felt an obligation to really step up. And I completely remember we were in a co-working space at the time. It was maybe 150 square feet, and there was like 4 of us. And I was just in the corner in tears trying to navigate this. So it's not easy. And there are plenty of days that the business feels like a house of cards. I know anybody that has scaled a company will feel that way, that at any moment this whole thing can, implode. And I think that's why it's so important to make sure you have mentors and coaches and accountability partners to lean on. But yeah, plenty of, tier stories involved. And in terms of like, how do you get that one client? I think you should lean in to the marketing strategy that highlights your skill set the most. So for example, in Seven Figure Agency, webinars are a big part, doing a monthly webinar to gain prospects that you can eventually invite to a discovery call. Well, here's the thing. Not everybody is great on Zoom. Not everybody is a great teacher. Maybe webinar isn't best for you. Maybe podcast is the better route and you enjoy the interviewing aspect as opposed to the one that's teaching. Or maybe you just are really not good at camera at all, and maybe you got to lean into, cold email. So I think it's also important to look at the skill sets that you bring to the table and start with those marketing strategies first.
So there's no shortcut.
I thought you were going to give us a shortcut.
There's no pill, guys. There's no pill, no magic hat. No.
I was waiting for the punchline and the shortcut, Chris.
Sorry,
so I got to go.
There's not one.
So let me put it this way, then. This is what I'm thinking here. Paulson and I, we'll go on our morning, huddles here. We'll just try to figure out how can we bring value to somebody who doesn't have the money for the mastermind or doesn't really know where to start. We were watching this video by Simon Sinek, Why, right? The why. How, and without getting too in depth, right? But like, we hear like you got to have a business plan. You have to have the marketing plan. Could you share a little bit about like how you look at things or how you would give a mentee the leadership, human, and then partial entry-level business plan? Like, how do you, if you had three buckets to really focus on for the first 90 days, what do you put in those buckets?
Yeah, I mean, the answer is going to be different based off of, where everybody is at. I think for those of, the people that maybe already have something going, the probably biggest transformational thing that we implemented was EOS, the Entrepreneurial Operating System. I get asked all the time, I'm an avid reader every single day, 30 minutes, what's the top 5 books every entrepreneur should read? And Traction is definitely one of those books. So in terms of systemizing business operations, I don't think there's anything better. However, the whole EOS system was truly built for companies doing over 2 million and that have at least 20 employees. But you can self implement EOS yourself. And that's what I did in the beginning when I wasn't, in my martial arts school, when there was only a handful of us and we didn't have a ton of money. And there's plenty of free resources online through EOS that you can access to learn how to systemize your business. And I think that's it is a great starting point no matter where you're at in the journey, but especially for those people that are starting to scale. I can't even imagine operating my business without EOS. So I think that would be a really great place for people.
I'm throwing bucket 1, systemize. Just have a standard process that I'm following through, tweaking and modifying as needed. I think it's a great start. Right. And I didn't have that when I was getting going. I don't know how much you had, Paulson, right? But everyone's at like you said, everyone's at a different starting point. That second bucket, we get the system version 1 going. We let that do its thing. Where else? What else should we maybe focus on?
Well, it ain't. I mean, 2 things a business has to have is it has to have revenue and it has to have cash flow. Because if you don't have those 2 things, then you are not going to have a business. So besides the operations, we've got to talk sales and marketing. And, I think unfortunately, some people are much better at marketing themselves and what their business can do than what they can do for their clients. And I think that you see this often in the bro marketing, bro agency game with these insane guarantees of what we're going to be able to do. But, in the small print with the asterisk, you have to do A, B, C, D, E, F, G, all the way down the alphabet in order for that guarantee to actually be a guarantee. And this might, sound surprising. We don't offer guarantees to our clients. And I'm kind of one of those people, if everybody's going to the right, I'm going to go to the left. So COVID happened, everybody went remote. What did I do? No, everybody's coming in office, because if we're in office, we're going to be able to move faster than everybody else. Everybody's doing these lavish guarantees because they read a Hormozy book. No, that's not my style. This is what we're going to do. Because at the end of the day, like, there's only so much that we can control on our end. I cannot control the sales process of what my client can do. And reputation is everything. And I'm not planning on this being a sprint. This is a marathon for me. So not a huge fan of marketers who are just really great at marketing themselves, but they can't follow through on the back end. And it's unfortunate because it leaves a really bad taste in prospects and clients' mouths when you can't follow through on these lavish, guarantees.
Yeah, what I love about what you just said is, well, first of all, I love that you pointed out the toxic bro culture of guarantees, right? Like that's literally stuffed in my news feed, right? But the reality of that is a lot of people, it's like blind leading the blind. They see someone else with a little bit of success doing something, so they just copy and paste. And that's the problem with marketers in general. We're typically trying to figure out the shortcut or just trying to funnel hack or split test something that you think something, that's working. Um, and those of you that are watching, we're talking about how to get to acquiring 20 to 30 customers every single month. First pillar that we're really diving deep here is the prospecting. We're going to talk about leadership and team management here in a second. But one more thing that, Chris, can you, if you don't mind addressing, is you talked about how to get to that first customer. Can we fast forward real quick to get to 2024? What is the thing, the system that you have in place that just landed you two customers on top of the 470 literally a few minutes ago while we're on this call? Like, that's got to be a big machine with prospectors, closers, paid ads, organic. I mean, there's a lot there. Can you just fast forward us real quick before we go to the second pillar of conversation?
Yeah, for sure. So our main service that we offer is Facebook ads. That's always been kind of my zone of genius. So we run Facebook ads, and it's nothing fancy. It's, when I tell people that, like, we pump out lead magnets every few weeks, and that is what is generating the majority of our prospecting, they're like, oh, yeah, well, I guess that is marketing 101. I mean, it is, right? So what we typically do is I do a webinar every single month. I've done it for the last 4 years. I've never missed it. If you are interested in checking them out, you can go to our website, growproagency.com. We host all of them. I don't care. R&D, rob and deploy, do whatever you want with it. But I think you'll get a ton of ideas of what type of webinar topics that you would be able to implement into your agency. We take that webinar, we turn it into a lead magnet. That lead magnet, we put Facebook ad spend behind. I do a ton of video content. I have posted a reel pretty much every day for the last 2 years. So I take the highest viewed reels that I post from my own personal account, because it just gets further reach than if you did it from like a business page. And I take those reels and I put ad spend behind them. And that's really top of funnel for us. I use a software called Lead Enforce that allows you to scrape Facebook groups and Facebook business pages. So I show those videos top of funnel to people that I don't know. They might not have heard me, but they're in martial arts school owners Facebook groups, or they're following those, business or fan pages. And then I retarget the people that watch the videos with the lead magnet. And then everybody that downloads the lead magnet, we retarget them with case studies and just an offer for a high performance marketing audit. And our high performance marketing audit, we audit their Facebook page, any ads that they're running, and their website and Google business profile. And it's really a value add to the prospect. And then on the back end of that, we'll go into the discovery call if it makes if it's a good fit. So you got the webinars, you got the lead magnet, you've got the Facebook ads. And then I'm heavy in the authority play. So this year alone, I have 24 speaking engagements. Very excited. I will be speaking at the High Level Summit. That was a bucket list item for me, so I'm excited on checking that off. But the majority that I'm speaking at are martial art related conferences. I did the book, so we run ads to the book. I will say we didn't have a ton of success with pay for shipping, and the book is free. So we just use the ebook because my costs are a lot lower on that, and we get a lot lower cost per lead as well. And those are kind of the main, strategies. I got a podcast called We Do the Work. And again, it's not just that one. It's like Dan Kennedy says this in one of his books. If we're going fishing and you have one fishing pole and I have 10 fishing poles, who's going to catch more fish? I'm going to catch more fish. I mean, it's just simple numbers. So I like having a lot of fishing poles out in the ocean.
I like that. Can you unpack HighLevel for us a little bit? I know you use HighLevel for your prospecting side for your agency, but what is the role of HighLevel on the fulfillment side? Is it part of the offer? Do you charge, I don't know, a certain number for the Facebook ads and HighLevel is optional? I know you're on the agency side, not on the SaaS side, but help us kind of understand the business model. I think it's a high volume business model, right? Low ticket, high volume. Okay.
Correct. Yeah. About 472 clients now.
Probably three or
maybe
four by the
even
time
more
we're
by
done.
the end of this, right? If you looked at our tech stack pre-High Level, it's just laughable. I think back and, it's like new employees, they have no idea, like all of the different softwares we were using. So we implemented High Level for us as an agency first before we started offering it to our clients. And I think that is a really smart way to go about it because there is a learning curve to High Level. There are so many amazing features that you can or choose not to share with your clients. But we utilize it as an agency for about 6 months to really learn the ins and outs and everything that we would be able to do for our clients. And then at that time, we already had probably 100 clients when we were getting ready to shift over to High Level. And we couldn't onboard all 100 of them at a time. So we did them in small groups of 10, letting them know about this amazing new software that we would be able to provide them. So the way that we package High Level, we actually don't. This might be pretty surprising, but again, if everybody goes right, I typically go left. I don't white label the app. I do not tell people that this is our app. And the reason is that it's not my app. I did not code it. I'm not a developer. If something is wrong with it, it's not because of us. And I think that's probably very different than what most people do. So we tell clients, this is a white label app. Every single agency that you hire uses this app. Even if they tell you it's theirs, it's not. It's a white label. Again, it comes down to full transparency with the clients. So all of our programs, we have 3 main programs, and then we have some add-on services as well. All of them include High Level. And, we strip it down because of the clientele that we have. They're not super techy. In some cases, if we do have a client that wants us to unlock certain features for them, we will. But we try to keep it as simplistic as possible for them. And we really paint it as a prospecting CRM. Most martial arts schools have a CRM for their students. And it's because they have to take attendance when the kids come into class. They need inventory, and they also need to be able to mark when kids get stripes and belts. And that would be a very, very big project for us to build out. And there are just some huge players in the martial arts space that have that on lockdown. So the way that we express it is, High Level is a better prospecting CRM than any of the other martial arts CRMs. So you're going to use this from the moment of first contact until they step foot through your facility. The second they step foot through your facility, this is martial arts, there's liability involved. You have to have prospects sign a waiver, and that waiver lives in their martial arts CRM. So the second they walk foot through your doors, now they're in your martial arts CRM. So that's how we kind of paint that picture to get them to utilize it. And we show them the amazing features that HighLevel has that the martial arts CRMs don't have. They're really good on the back end stuff, but on the front end stuff, nobody's better than HighLevel. So we include HighLevel in all of the packages. However, martial arts schools, like many industries, has seasonality. And oftentimes summer is the slow time because families are traveling, they're going out of town. And because of that, we get clients during the summer as well as during the holiday season want to pause, right? Hey, I want to pause the ads right now, which from a business and marketing standpoint, if you think it's going to be slow, stopping your marketing sounds like the exact opposite thing of what you should be doing. If you think it's going to be slow, you should go pedal to the metal with your marketing. That's a conversation for another day. But if they do want to pause their ads, we allow them to downgrade to a program that we call Client Connect, where they get to keep access to HighLevel. They get to keep access to all of the features. We have a social media calendar in there. I do a monthly master class, and they also get first right of refusal if a competitor wants to sign on with us and take their territory. So that has been a really helpful way of us. It's only $129 compared to, if they're paying us $800. So it's a definite hit in MRR, but it still keeps them involved with us. And that has been very helpful in us navigating the whole pause. I want to pause my ads scenario. So that's how we work HighLevel into our programs and services here.
I love that. JB, I know you teach a lot of people in our community about churn, and Chris kind of touched on that churn component a little bit. Do you see this business model with our community in HighLevel, JB? Or like, what are your thoughts on this agency SaaS hybrid? It seems like it's pretty popular.
I feel like people aren't as transparent. Like, so here's one thing: as y'all are watching this, like I am, and part of this, you're gonna learn that Chris is really straightforward, straight shooter. She'll hurt your feelings for the better, but
Sorry.
she'll give you all the goods with no gating at all. Like she just like told us, go to her website, go here, gave us what her business model is, right? So it's so amazing and refreshing to hear. And I think sometimes, Paulson, to answer your question, people hide that they're in that model because it's not the cool model, or maybe it's not spoken about often, right? And
Yeah.
there's a process to jump over to the cloud and right automate and SaaSify, or however you want to call it. And the way that Chris explained how she incorporates HighLevel, man, it's powerful because that's the confidence you have. Like, this is the platform we use. Yes, you could buy it
Right.
on your own, but you're not going to buy our intelligence and our strategy and the track record that you have, Chris, with speaking, like you said, you build your authority. It goes from systemizing your business to processes within how you treat your clients, and then how you build your brand and your team as one, and educating. Like,
Yeah.
it's neat. And when I talk to 5-day challengers or those that are looking to really go all in on SaaS, they have millions of questions. They don't know where to start. And I appreciate you sharing this because it's so powerful of here's what you need to keep in mind outside of where you want to be and how fast you want to go there. So hope that answers it. But Chris, thank you for just right unpacking this with no holdbacks.
Yeah. Why, Chris, why are people lying about white labeling? Why? And I don't get it. Like 5 years ago, it was like, oh yeah, we got this new thing. Nobody else is going to know about it. But HighLevel, in a humble way, it's just going to turn into a household name, very similar to like the Salesforce, the active campaigns. I mean, a customer is going to know that it's HighLevel. And I love that you're like leaning to that world of saying, hey, you probably seen this dashboard before, Martial Arts Studio. It's probably HighLevel. Like, how did you get to that decision? Because I think that's something a lot of SaaSpreneurs and, high levelers kind of struggle with. It's like, oh, let me keep my thing. And I'm like, the transparency goes further for me.
I mean, at the core of what business is, it's relationships. And how do you build relationships? You build relationships through trust. So to me, that was just a no-brainer. I didn't build this. This isn't mine. It is white label. And people truly appreciate that honesty. Like all of our Facebook ads and Google ads, we run in their ad account. They own it. They own the pixel. They own the data. And I know some people, well, I don't want them to take my intellectual property. Like I have such an abundance mindset and not a scarcity mindset towards that. Um, as a consumer myself, I always want the company to be honest with me. I mean, it's you see these companies that honesty and integrity as their core values, and it's like, to me, that shouldn't be a core value. That's a permission to play value. Like, you're not coming on the team if you're not honest and you don't have integrity. So yeah, that has never failed me in any area of my life, being honest with somebody else, whether that's with my wife, whether that's with my kids, whether that's with a friend, or whether that's with your prospects and clients. So that
I
was
love
just my
that.
natural reaction.
You're highlighting great values here as a business. So let's talk about the second pillar that we had in mind, which is leadership and team management. And values are the foundation of good leadership. Were you always a leader?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. I think, well, martial arts is really what brought it out of me the most. I think just the hierarchical aspect of earning belts and stripes, and you get different colored uniforms, and I was always a high achiever and ambitious. I wasn't a great leader until probably about 5 years into my martial arts school journey. Um, I was very much somebody you would not want to work for. And I think it was due to the pressure of operating a business that, is going to be putting food, on the table for your family, the pressure of, signing the front of the checks. Like, life is a little bit different when you have to be the one signing the front of the checks that go out. And I operated very much as a not nice, like, dictator in meetings. I was the only one that was talking because I'm the smartest one. And you guess what happens? Employee churn happens. And I think the absolute worst thing for us that we have to deal with as business owners is having to let people go, or somebody coming to you and then them wanting to leave. I still, to this day, that's the worst day of the week if that happens. I honestly take it almost as a personal rejection if somebody doesn't want to work for the company anymore. So when you start dealing with employee churn, and one, it's massively expensive to the company, it's an emotional drain as well. It's a mental drain. You start smartening up, and I really dove into personal development. I also, I think choosing a mentor is so important, and we often will choose a mentor, in the bro marketing world based off of the color of the Lamborghini, or, the watch on the wrist. And I had mentors that were very successful. However, the values that they were preaching were not something I should have aligned myself with. And it wasn't until I found a mentor that had really, really great values, that really helped me to kind of change my mindset around leadership. And this is going to sound so silly and so simple, but it's probably my biggest takeaway with building a team is that it has to be fun. And it wasn't fun to work for me the first 5 years that I had a martial arts school. And I knew that once I started this company, I wanted to take those lessons. And it can be very easy to get frustrated at where the sales is, or where the marketing is, or your personal assistant didn't do this thing the exact way that you wanted it. But if it's not fun anymore for people, they're not going to want to be involved. And I think just lightening up a little bit was, one of the, skill sets that I had to develop, because it wasn't natural. I'm very much a like A type, by the book, let's go, let's get the job done. But people have to really enjoy what they're doing, or they're not going to stick around for, a long time. So that was a
Yeah,
very
you
long-winded
you
answer. Sorry.
no, I love it. That's why we're on a long form podcast format, right? I know 470 could be intimidating for a lot of people. And maybe getting to 10 customers is the goal for someone that's watching. At what point, Chris, did you feel comfortable hiring somebody, especially that you ran a low ticket model? So I'm thinking the fulfillment got heavier, assembly line got very hectic, because there's not a lot of revenue that you can just be like, oh yeah, let me just go hire this KPMG ex consultant to come in and run operations. Like what point did you was all in on the first team member?
First team member or first mentor?
First
First
team
team member.
member. Like I'm thinking about leadership and team building, right?
Yeah.
When did you hire that first person? I mean, of course, an agency with 50 clients is totally different than 100 clients, let alone talk about 250 or 300 or 450. But like, what point did you were like, okay, now we're losing quality on the delivery. Where do I need to just go ahead and make a decision?
Yeah, so probably right around 20 clients is when I started looking for help. And I went the 1099 contractor route. There was actually some school owners who took the course who also absolutely love digital marketing. And I reached out to them. I was like, hey, do you want to help me with handling some of these accounts? And, I'll pay you per account, which we don't do that anymore. And they said, sure. And, we grew with three other 1099 contractors from April of 2019 until COVID hit. And when COVID hit, we were probably doing around like 35, 40,000 in MRR. And I didn't have a mentor at all. I was taking like my business acumen from the martial arts school and implementing that into the agency. But it was right around 20 clients. And the way that I looked at it is like, okay, I still run the ads for my own agency today, even though I have a marketing director, even though I have 15 ad account managers that could easily handle it. I still do it. And it's because I don't want to lose touch of our number one service that we offer. Platforms are constantly changing as well. And I also really enjoy it. It would be one thing if I didn't enjoy it, but I absolutely love launching a campaign. And then within, maybe 20 to 30 minutes, you start seeing those results come in. So I took 10 of the clients out of the 20, and then I gave the 1099 contractor, here's 10. And, I didn't know anything about gross profit margins at that time. I was just like, hey, I'll give you like $200 per account. I was charging like 500. So I was like, I'll keep 300. They get 200. And, we did that for a while. And that's how, yeah. So it was right around 20 clients when I started looking for help, because that's a lot of moving pieces, especially when you're still doing sales, you're still doing marketing, you're doing the fulfillment, and you're wearing all of those hats.
My gut tells me you were good at sales, not just a tech wizard. I know a lot of high levelers watching. They lean on the engineering side. They're creators. They're development minded. Were you like that? Do you believe in that whole salesy person versus techie person? I know JB, you talk about it in the 5 day challenge and come across agencies as well. Is that a thing? Did you hire for the opposite weakness?
Yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, like you got to lean into your skill set, and talking to when you own a martial arts school, you have clients or students that are in front of you every day. They're coming on campus, right? And building rapport is incredibly important if you want them to keep coming back, because they're choking each other out and armbarring each other, and it's like, this hurts, my freaking back hurts, my knee hurts, like. So I think there are people that are just more naturally geared towards sales. And then there's other people that are like, just put me in front of a laptop, stick me in a corner. You don't even have to turn the lights on. Just leave me alone and let me do my thing. And I think one of the big mistakes that a lot of, marketers make, especially if they're looking for partners, is they don't find the partner that has the opposite skill set, because we're usually, attracted to like-minded people. So I loved doing sales. It was actually the very last thing that I gave up. And Josh Nelson, my coach, he literally had to force me. He's like, I'm not talking to you again until you give this up. And I'm like, but I love it. I love the adrenaline feel of somebody saying yes, and then the credit card going through. And he was like, it feels 10 times better when somebody else is doing it for you. And I was like, all right. That makes a lot of sense. So yeah, I handled sales until well past 1 million. So we were, past being a seven-figure agency before I gave it up.
Yeah, so let's fast forward to 34 team members. What does the leadership structure look like in general today?
Yeah, so we operate on EOS. So we have the visionary and then we have the integrator. So I am the visionary. We have an integrator in place. It is my stepson who started as a part-time worker in the agency, and he has literally done every little thing you could imagine. He's done every role, and he has been my right hand, second in command. And we're just to the point now, we're almost at the 4 million run rate. And oftentimes the systems and the team that gets you to one level is not the systems and the team that gets you to another level. And through no fault of his own, just the fact that he's 26, he doesn't have that experience. So we're currently hiring for another integrator, but he's currently sitting in that. We have an operations manager. We don't call it HR because who the heck wants to talk to HR? So we call it talent. So we have talent and finance, and then we have sales and marketing. And by far the biggest team is the operations team, the fulfillment team. That is a beast. That is a lot of people. It's a lot of moving parts because we offer quite a few different services. And one of the biggest game changers for us was switching to a pod structure that we did not have. So about a year ago, we switched to a pod structure, and switching to a pod structure is the only reason we were able to get from like 300 clients to almost 500 clients. So that's the leadership team is the visionary, the integrator, ops manager, finance and HR, marketing, sales.
Yeah.
Chris,
JB, I think you were talking about culture, team culture the other day. What are your thoughts on team culture?
well, Chris, I wanted to pick your brain if you're okay with this, where team culture, you have an in-person model where people come into the office. You talked about fun. Could you share a little bit of somebody that's going on the path that you're on? How do they incorporate culture, fun, and then the expense and operation cost of having a beautiful place, where people show up every day and it's part of their life?
Yeah, so I actually own the office building that we are in. So that was, another strategic reason of wanting to have an in-person model. I have tenants, so I own two buildings. There's three other tenants that are involved. So, I'm not sure I would have 100% gone this model if I didn't want to leverage real estate for, long-term wealth building. But at the end of the day, I saw this online, so it's not my quote, but it said, culture is how your people feel on a Sunday night. And that really hit hard for me because for us, we're in office Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then Tuesday, Thursday is work from home. So we do a hybrid schedule. It wasn't always like that. At first, it was just one work from home day a week, and then eventually we went from two. But my team has to wake up early on a Monday. They got to shower. They got to put clothes on. They got to get in their car. They got to drive through traffic to get here. So how they feel on a Sunday night is very, very important to me. One of our culture values is that we have a modern and fun environment, and our office showcases a modern and fun environment. For me, building a culture of feedback is one very important way to have people enjoy where they're working. Knowing that if they provide feedback to their managers, to the team leads, that it's going to be received, that it's going to be discussed, and that it might even be implemented is huge. We do a weekly all hands on deck meeting every single Friday. It's something that I run. It's my favorite meeting. I'm actually missing it tomorrow because I'm going to be on stage at Alex's POD event. But when I am able to operate them, we basically start with celebrations. And guys, you have to overly celebrate your people. And I used to have the mindset of like, celebrate your people, their paycheck is how I celebrate them. That's literally the mindset I had many, many years ago. But every opportunity that you can to celebrate every single one of our meetings, we start with a business win and a personal win. It might sound cheesy, it might sound corny, you might think that is an incredible waste of meeting time, but it completely shifts the mindset that your people have going into those meetings. But our all hands on deck, we do celebrations. We also do shout outs. So everybody in the company has an opportunity to shout out other people and tie it into a core value. So when you come in, you're going to see core values all over the walls. We're not that company where it's just up on the walls. We hire, we fire, we review, we reward, all based off of those values. We do a wheel of wow, so they get to spin a prize wheel. We pick a couple of people in the company that went above and beyond. They can win $20. They can win a 2 p.m. finish. They can win crumble cookies. There's a bunch of really cool things. And then, and I think this is the most important, I always end the meeting with some form of personal development training. I tell my team members, work harder on yourself than you do your job. And I truly believe that famous Jim Rohn quote. And I back that up by providing them with I haven't heard very many companies that, bring people in to teach them about budgeting, or will teach them about productivity and efficiencies, or will teach them about, just developing a life that you're really, really proud of. And this is the feedback that I get from my employees, is that they've never seen that anywhere. So we really try to incorporate training as much as possible, because I think people are happiest in their life when they're progressing. How do you progress? You got to be on that continued education journey in order to do that, right? We do the typical outings. So every other month we do an outing. We allow them to bring their significant others, which I think is super important. You want to get the buy-in from the significant other, not just the employee. We do casino nights, Top Golf, bowling. We've got a fantasy football league that the company sponsored, $150 gift card to a nice steakhouse. And we got this huge trophy. So the winner is going to get to put the trophy on the desk. Here's the thing. I hate football. I absolutely hate it. I think that it eats into so many people's schedule. I think people hide behind it. I think them caring about the team winning more than they care about their personal development makes me want to rip my hair out. I don't get it. I don't like it, but they do. So I'm going to support that, So those are some of the things, we have bean bags, which are, kind of cool to chill out in the office, free snacks, espresso machine, and we offer unlimited PTO.
What's cool is that it's not about the materialistic component of making sure there's comfort in the job, but it's the idea that the folks that own the business, the leadership at the top, care about me enough to have a connection, whether it's emotional, development wise, whatever. Like you cannot ever make a complaint that says, "Oh, it's just another job. They don't care about me enough." That's just not gonna happen. It seems like that's what your culture is built on. The third pillar of discussion that would love to kind of explore is expansion, right? How do you define expansion? How do you expand customers? How do you expand in the market as a brand? How do you expand your team? Like what is your vision of expansion as a business? Or do you not scale? Sometimes it's better to not scale either.
Yeah, I mean, I think expansion starts with your mind. So if you're not growing this up here, that's going to be very, very difficult. I have dreams of this company. It's not dreams, it's goals. They're written down. It's in black and white. It's shared with the team. We will be $100 million company one day. We're just not there yet, right? Yet. So I believe that we could probably get pretty close to the 10 million annual revenue in the martial arts industry solely, but you're talking 1,000, 1,200 clients, right? And that's definitely a lot of moving pieces. So for us, we do see expansion in other verticals. The way that we would like to obtain that is through acquiring those agencies as opposed to starting from the ground up and building them up. So that is something that we are currently in the process of doing. We're just waiting for the right deal, kind of looking for, an agency probably between the 30, 40, 50,000 MRR mark. But that is one reason why is, and Ed Milet talks about this a lot, Dan Martell talks a lot. You have to build a company so big that everybody else's dreams can fit inside of it. I have this rock star employee. Her name is Caitlin, and she just celebrated her 1 year. I mean, above and beyond. And I was meeting with her and we were discussing 1 year and 5 year goals. And one of her 5 year goals is to work at an international agency. And I'm thinking, I'm going to lose this amazing rock star because we're not an international agency. What do I got to do to become an international agency? How can I make this thing so big that everybody else's dreams can fit inside? And I think when you make that decision to stop scaling because you want work life balance or whatever it is, eventually you're going to end up dealing with employee churn because there's no more opportunity for them. Who in the world wants to work at a company that is plateauing or that is going down? Rock stars, A players, that's not where they want to work. So for me, it's not even about the money anymore. It's about making sure that I can provide the opportunities to my team and help them achieve those goals.
I've had a lot of takeaways on this combo, but I'll let JB go first. JB, can you just give us your notes of what's been your takeaways as we kind of close out, and I'll share my takeaways, and then we'll come back to Cris to give us her final thoughts to kind of close out. I know you got some sales calls here that Josh doesn't want you to do, but I'm excited you get, I don't want to be the one that stops you from getting those
I
deals.
have a meeting, not a sales call. I
Gotcha,
have a
gotcha,
meeting.
gotcha, gotcha. JB?
Yeah, limiting belief. You mentioned a couple different examples of following people and part of the herd, not being your individual person and have your individual goals. So I'm thinking in the back of my mind as I'm just absorbing what you shared, I need to write down my why, my goals. I need to make sure I understand what the big picture looks like for myself and for those in my immediate circle. And then I need to start putting some big boy systems in place where there's checks and balances. It's not just me working off of emotion, and I can keep everyone else in the mix with me to hold me accountable and hold them accountable. And then as I do that, I got to get down my offer. Like you have an offer that you're excited about, that you're pumped about, that you believe in. I got to lock down my offer and then perfect that offer by having a bunch of fishing poles in the water, whether it's webinar, podcast, almost, explore a bunch of different things and then keep a few going and then find a way to empower my people to keep them going for me. And then after I do that, I start taking clues and maybe catch a mentor for the next level and then attend events that are the next level to get where they're at now, where I want to go. And then after that, I need to determine what I want to do for like the future. Do I want to do the play like you did with maybe getting a small office or real estate or trying to fit myself into a bigger picture of land, or do I want to go hybrid, whatever the case may be? And then after that, I need to really hone in on what is going to take me to the big, hairy, audacious goal of whether it's 10 million, 30 million, 50 million, and how do I read and watch and consume the information? I can get the clues. And you were very inspiring in this process, and you've given hope. I mean, I got about a page and a half worth of notes. But for whoever doesn't really either transcribe this or take the notes on it, you're missing out because here's one thing I wish I would have knew earlier. Not everybody's throwing fluff or faking it till they make it. There are people really doing it who treat this as a real business, not just because it's a cool factor. And you're an example of, right, this is a real business. Like I feed families and I feed myself, and I've grown a career out of being an entrepreneur in a space that's cutthroat and hard. So,
I
man,
love that. I
I
love
gotta get a
that,
glass of
JB.
water. Thank you so much, Cris.
I love that. My first I'll start with the confession. I do have a little bit of FOMO that both y'all get to go to Alex Shalinsky's event this weekend. I wish I was in Tampa with you guys in Florida. That nice sunny weather. I would love to have been there. Out of there's so many takeaways to be frank, but the one thing that just strikes at me the most is you built a massive business and the competitive advantage that you created and kind of leaned on is being different than everyone else. And all your systems are built on the differentiation. That's what it seems like from outside looking in. And that's my biggest takeaway. Cris, your final thoughts and take us home.
Yeah, I mean, I've been different my entire life, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. So for anybody else that feels different out there or unique, lean in on that. You know, you're going to be the only you ever on this planet. So be you and go hard. I just want to say thanks, guys, for having me on. Really enjoyed this discussion, and for anybody that's watching, feel free to reach out if you have any follow up questions. We can have anything that we want in this life if we help others get what they want. This has been a personal mantra of mine. And I'm happy to, help you guys in any areas that you might need help.
I love that. If you're watching this podcast and you're not part of the High Level family, you might even be able to do something that Chris did, where you didn't go all in on the SaaS. It's just High Level is part of the tech stack. It's part of the experience. And if you want to just take a look at it, there's some trial links somewhere in the descriptions. Jump in. But Chris, thanks for jumping in, letting us do this whole duo dance with you. JB, thanks for being a great sport and making this all happen as well. But bye for now.
Bye, guys. Thank you so much.